Loneliness does not come from having no people about one, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to oneself, or from holding certain views which others find inadmissible. Welcome to Timeless Wisdom Official. If you have found your way to this video, it is likely because you are standing at a crossroads that few people dare to talk about openly. You have entered the great silence. You are one of those people who has slowly or perhaps suddenly cut everyone off. Before we journey into the depths of your psyche to understand why this happened, take a second to honor your presence here. If you resonate with the search for truth and inner peace, please consider subscribing to our community, liking this video, and sharing your story in the comments below. We read them, and you are safe here. Now, let us speak the truth about why you walked away.
The current state, the anatomy of silence. There is a specific texture to your life right now. To the outside world, it looks like isolation. They call you antisocial. They whisper that you are depressed, arrogant, or perhaps having a midlife crisis. They speculate that you have changed. But they are looking at the walls of the house from the outside. They cannot see what is happening inside. Inside, for the first time in years, there is no noise. You wake up, and your first thought isn't about managing someone else's emotions. You don't pick up your phone with that subtle, underlying anxiety. The fear of a text message demanding your energy, a favor you don't want to do, or a drama you didn't create. The silence isn't empty, it is pregnant with peace. You have stopped performing. That is the biggest shift. For decades, perhaps, you were an actor on a stage you didn't build, reading lines from a script written by your parents, your society, or your needy friends. You smiled when you weren't happy. You said yes when your soul screamed no. You attended gatherings that drained your battery just to appear normal. But now the theater is empty. The lights are off, and you are finally sitting in the audience of your own life, realizing that you enjoy the show much more when you aren't forced to entertain everyone else. This phase you are in, it is not a punishment. It is a detox. You are not cutting people off out of malice. You are undergoing a spiritual quarantine. You have instinctively removed the variables that were making you sick, even before your conscious mind understood what the sickness was. The contrast, the giver versus the fortress. To understand the psychology of why you cut everyone off, we must look at who you were before the silence began. This is the part that hurts to remember, but it is necessary. You were not born cold. In fact, the tragedy, and the irony, is that you are likely the warmest person in the room. You were the fixer, the therapist, the rock. Do you remember? You were the one people called at 2 a.m. You were the one who absorbed their trauma like a sponge. You listened to their relationship problems for hours, offering advice they never took, only to hear the same complaints the next week. You were the one who bought the thoughtful gifts, who remembered the anniversaries, who drove across town to help them move furniture. You had a belief system, likely instilled in childhood, that said, to be loved, I must be useful. To be accepted, I must be available. You thought relationships were a reciprocal exchange. You thought that if you deposited enough coins of kindness, patience, and support into the bank of friendship, that one day, when you were bankrupt, you could make a withdrawal. But then, the winter came. Maybe you lost your job. Maybe you went through a divorce, a health scare, or a dark night of the soul. You reached out your hand, expecting to feel the grasp of the tribe you had served for so long. And you grasped nothing but air. The realization hit you with the force of a physical blow. You weren't in a community. You were in a marketplace. And you were the only one paying. The psychology of cutting everyone off begins here. It is not an act of aggression. It is the sudden, horrifying realization that you have been voluntarily feeding parasites and calling them family or friends. The transition from the giver to the fortress happens when the pain of being used finally outweighs the fear of being alone. In American culture, we are obsessed with extroversion and networking. We are told that your net worth is your network. We are taught that a full calendar is a sign of a successful life. So, when you started to pull back, you likely felt a deep sense of guilt. You thought, am I the problem? Am I being too sensitive? Maybe I should just try harder. So you tried again. You lowered your standards. You forgave the disrespect. You overlooked the passive-aggressive comments. You told yourself that nobody is perfect, but your body knew better. This is where the psychology deepens. Your mind might have wanted to stay connected, but your nervous system began to revolt. Notice how you started feeling exhausted before meeting certain people? Notice the headache that would appear right after hanging up the phone with them? Notice the heavy feeling in your chest when you saw their name pop up on your screen? That was your intuition screaming. That was your biological alarm system warning you that these connections were not neutral. They were expensive. They were costing you your vitality. So, the cutoff didn't happen overnight. It wasn't a dramatic explosion. It was a slow, agonizing fade. You stopped initiating. You waited to see who would reach out to you if you didn't reach out first. And the silence that followed answered every question you were too afraid to ask. You realized that for many people, you weren't a friend. You were a convenience. You were a background character in their movie, useful only when the plot required support. And the moment you stopped playing your role, the moment you stopped being low maintenance and easy, they didn't just leave, they acted like you never existed. And that is when you closed the gates. You pulled up the drawbridge. You became a fortress, not to keep love out, but to keep the chaos out. The archaeology of the self. Why you tolerated crumbs. Now we must ask the difficult question. If these relationships were draining you for years, why did you stay so long? Why did it take you decades to finally cut the cord? To find the answer, we have to travel back in time. Psychology tells us that the way we love as adults is often a reflection of how we learned to survive as children. For many of you watching this, you suffer from what is known as hyper-independence. You didn't just decide to be strong, you were forced to be strong. Perhaps you grew up in a home where the adults were emotionally immature, unavailable, or volatile. You learned a dangerous lesson very early: needs are burdens. You learned that if you had a problem, you had to solve it yourself because the people who were supposed to protect you were either too busy, too stressed, or too wrapped up in their own chaos. You learned that being good meant being invisible. Being lovable meant being low maintenance. So, you became the parentified child. You became the peacemaker. You became the emotional shock absorber for your family. Fast forward to your adult life. You unconsciously sought out friends and partners who felt familiar. And because familiar to you meant emotionally unavailable, you attracted people who needed you to fix them, but had no capacity to love you back. You tolerated the bare minimum because your baseline for love was set tragically low. You thought that by overgiving, by over-explaining, by being the most understanding person in the world, you could finally earn the love you crave. You were trying to heal your childhood wounds by saving people who didn't want to be saved. But here is the breakthrough. The moment you decided to cut everyone off was the moment your adult self finally stepped in to protect your inner child. It was the moment you looked at the little boy or little girl inside you and said, "Enough. I will not let these people hurt you anymore. If they cannot treat us with respect, they do not get access to us." This isn't bitterness. It is the breaking of a generational curse. The reframing, the myth of closure and the power of indifference. Society often paints the person who cuts ties as the villain. They say you are burning bridges. They say you are ghosting. They demand an explanation. They want closure. But let's rewrite that narrative right now. You are not burning bridges. You are clearing the path. You are not ghosting. You are ceasing to haunt a house that no longer welcomes you. One of the hardest parts of this phase is the demand for closure. The people you cut off, the ones who took you for granted, will suddenly demand to know why. They will call you. They will text you angry paragraph. They will play the victim. They want a final conversation. They want you to list their crimes so they can argue with you, gaslight you, and tell you that you are remembering it wrong. Here is a piece of timeless wisdom. Closure is a scam. You do not owe an explanation to people who benefited from your pain. You do not owe a debate to people who never listened to you when you were speaking softly. The most powerful move you can make is silence. Why? Because explaining yourself requires energy. Arguing requires emotional investment. And the whole point of cutting them off is that you are done investing in a bankrupt company. True indifference is not hate. Hate is still a connection. Hate requires passion. True indifference is looking at a relationship that used to define you and feeling nothing. No anger. No sadness. Just a neutral understanding that their part in your story is over. You have moved from the victim to the curator of your life. Just as a museum curator chooses which art is valuable enough to be displayed, you are now choosing who is valuable enough to have access to your energy. And it turns out the VIP section is very, very small. The economics of energy. Sinking costs versus freedom. There is a concept in economics called the sunk cost fallacy. It's the mistaken belief that you should keep investing in something just because you have already invested so much in it. You stayed in bad friendships for 10 years because we've known each other since high school. You stayed with toxic family members because blood is thicker than water. But the psychology of the cutoff is the rejection of this fallacy. You realize that time served is not a reason to serve a life sentence. When you finally severed those ties, something miraculous happened. The fatigue that you thought was chronic, it started to lift. The brain fog, it cleared. The anxiety that lived in the pit of your stomach, it evaporated. You realized that you weren't tired from life. You were tired from carrying people who had functioning legs. Now you have all this returned energy. And for the first time, you can direct it toward the only person who will never leave you, the only person who has been with you through every heartbreak and every victory, yourself. This period of isolation is not empty time. It is a reinvestment period. You are taking the love you wasted on everyone else and pouring it back into your own cup. And for the first time in your life, the cup is actually starting to fill up. The new standard. The art of selective access. So, where does this leave you? Are you destined to be a hermit living in a cave forever? No. This phase of cutting everyone off is not a permanent state of exile. It is a renovation project. You are gutting the house of your life so you can rebuild the foundation. And when you do decide to open the door again, if you decide to, the rules of entry will be completely different. You are no longer looking for people who need you. You are looking for people who see you. You are no longer impressed by people who talk a big game but disappear when it rains. You are looking for consistency. You are looking for emotional maturity. You are looking for people whose nervous systems feel like peace, not a roller coaster. This is the new standard. You will find that your circle will be smaller, yes, but it will be denser with reality. One friend who understands your silence is worth more than 50 friends who only want your noise. You are no longer afraid of losing people because you have found the one person you can't afford to lose: yourself. Once you taste the dignity of self-respect, the chaos of toxic relationships tastes like poison. You simply can't digest it anymore. The destination, from loneliness to solitude. There is a profound difference between being alone and being in solitude. Loneliness is the poverty of self. Solitude is the richness of self. When you cut off the noise, you didn't just create empty space. You created a sanctuary. In this sanctuary, you are rediscovering who you are when you aren't trying to please anyone. You are remembering your hobbies. You are hearing your own thoughts clearly for the first time in years. You are sleeping better. The constant fight or flight mode that plagued your body has finally switched off. This is the reward for your bravery. People may look at you and think you are isolated. Let them think that. While they are busy chasing validation, performing for likes, and engaging in shallow gossip, you are building an empire of peace within your own soul. You have learned the ultimate lesson of timeless wisdom. Your peace is too expensive to be on sale. You are not damaged goods, hiding from the world. You are a diamond undergoing the pressure necessary to become unbreakable. The people who belong in your future will not require you to break yourself into pieces to fit into their life. They will meet you at your level of wholeness. Until then, your own company is enough. If you have watched this far, it is because you needed to hear this. You are not crazy. You are not cold. You are simply waking up. The psychology of cutting everyone off is not about hatred. It is an act of radical self-love. It is the decision to save your own life when you realized no one else was coming to save you. Walk this path with your head held high. Embrace the silence. Trust the process. And know that on the other side of this solitude, a version of you is waiting, stronger, wiser, and more at peace than you ever thought possible. We want to hear your story. Have you experienced this shift? Have you had to walk away from people to find yourself? Please, share your journey in the comments below. Your words might be the light that guides someone else through their darkness. If this message resonated with your soul, please subscribe to Timeless Wisdom Official. Like this video to help us spread this message to those who need it, and share it with someone who might be struggling in silence. Together, we are building a sanctuary for the seekers of truth. Before we go, I want to take a moment to say a sincere thank you to you. Thank you for giving us your most valuable asset, your time and attention. Thank you for trusting Timeless Wisdom Official to be a part of your journey. We do not take your support for granted. Every view, every like, and every silent nod of agreement from you fuels our mission to bring light into the shadows. You are not alone on this path. We are walking it with you. Until next time, protect your peace.